it's Sunny, and I hope you guys are all doing well and keeping safe. Before we head on to today's podcast, I just wanted to quickly announce that we are currently making a video campaign for the hashtag Stop Asian Hate, and we'd love you guys to be part of it. So head on to BritishAsian.media to learn more. And yeah, cue in the BAM and Beyond intro. Dun, dun. Welcome to the BAM and Beyond podcast. This is the podcast where you learn more about BAM, the team, and everything happening with British Asian media and beyond. If you're new to BAM, we are a team of British East and Southeast Asian creatives who are passionate about entertaining others and uplifting the community. I'm Sunny.
I'm Sophia.
I'm Jam.
And today, for this episode, we have a special guest. Sorfina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone! Hi, it's Sorfina. Thanks for having me on this podcast. It's my first ever podcast in my life, so I'm quite nervous, but I'm so glad it's with you guys. So thanks for having me.
We're so honored to have you.
Thanks
and
for coming
to
on.
Also to be the first podcast that you'll be featuring on.
Yeah.
Hope it's not your last.
Hopefully not. So shall I introduce myself?
Yeah.
I came up with 5 points that don't necessarily correlate with each other, just 5 random points about Sorfina. The first one being, so I love cats. Like, I adore them. I'm constantly dreaming of the day that I can finally adopt my own in the UK. So for now, I live through other people's content. So all their cat videos and cat photos, I just absorb it all. Secondly, so I'm from Malaysia. I'm a proud Malaysian. I was born there, and at the age of 6, moved over to Hong Kong, and then stayed there for 4 years. And then I moved over to the UK, where I've been for like well over half my life now. Although my accent is confusing. People are like, "Are you American?" When they meet me for the first time, I'm like, "No, it's an international accent, but I can understand where you're coming from." I did grow up on Disney Channel, that's why. So. I'm currently learning Korean because I finally decided that I wanted to understand more than just 진짜 and 어떻게. So I made an investment to start learning the language, and that's been going really well. My day job, I'm a product manager at a telecoms company. About it. And lastly, I am lactose untalented, but I make exceptions for bubble tea. Yeah.
Love that. I was gonna say it's really interesting to hear about your accent, because I actually thought that you might be American. But yeah, I see the whole, I think a lot of us immigrants learn English through watching Disney Channel, and obviously Disney Channel, everything was American. And I know with a lot of us in BAM also have like accents where we kind of code switch a little bit, half American-y sounding, half like Englishy sounding, and it's like, which one is the real accent? So it's interesting to hear that's the same with you. As you guys here on the podcast with me know, I'm not sure if the audience know, but International Women's Day is the 8th of March, and we thought I personally love International Women's Day. I think it's such a great thing to shout out about women's achievements, and to empower one another. We're all the sisterhood, and it's good to have each other's back. So I'm really happy that we're able to do this on the podcast. And this year's theme for International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. So to kick things off in the episode, I'd like to ask you girls, any memory you have of a challenge that has been made to you as a woman and how you overcame it.
Strong question, Jeff.
Started with a bang.
With a bam podcast. I can start. I have one in mind. So I think for me, one of the biggest challenges to me as a woman was when I was working within the corporate industry, and I worked in sales, which is very male dominant, and I also worked in cybersecurity, so which is tech, which is also in itself male dominant. And in my company, I think there was only like 4 girls in the whole company. There was 2 of us in the sales team. So even that, seeing kind of like the statistics of knowing that as a woman it's really just feeling a little bit like isolated. And then I was also one of the youngest in the company, so I felt often that there were comments that were made that were jokes, but to me it just felt very like sexist and ageist, and it was difficult to hear that kind of thing where, like, for example, like some guys would joke that, oh, you know, use your sex appeal to get people to buy, or, you know, that guy's only buying from you because you're a woman and he probably wants a shag. That those like little everyday comments that are seen as jokes, but I think it's so prevalent in industries that are hugely male dominant, because it's just like, oh, it's like lads banter. And it was one of the reasons, like, kind of hearing that, like, I know to them it was a joke, but to me it hurt and it impacted my mental health a lot. So I left the situation. I was like, I'm done with this, and I quit. I did it for a year, and then I quit and took a month off to build my creative portfolio. And then now I'm in a job that I love, that I feel my company respects me as a human. They don't treat me any different at all. They gave me, like, literally I came in as an intern. I was very junior because I was so new to the creative industry, and our managing director put me in charge of International Women's Day when I came there, and I got my first producer credit on our International Women's Day film. So then I kind of like battled my way through the male dominance, and was like, hey, take that, look at this International Women's Day film that I made. So yeah, it was great, and that's my story.
Wow. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but I'm so glad you're out of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was not in a similar situation. So I did engineering at uni, electronic engineering, and in my course, or in my year group, there was probably a handful of girls in a room of like 40, 50 guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a stark contrast, right? But I think luckily I didn't feel too much of like that, the locker room talk, the lads banter, perhaps because they were a bit more like respectful and like not letting me hear it. But I was always aware of like, oh, I wonder if I was picked for the group project, or I wasn't picked for the group project because I was the girl.
Mm-hmm.
And like just I think the general challenge that we have to learn to overcome almost every day is other people's biases.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of myself, I you know, when you were talking about sex appeal and using that for sales and stuff like that, I was just thinking about a situation where, so I've worked as a club promoter and technically still am a club promoter, but we're in lockdown. I worked as a club promoter since maybe like my first year or just before my first year of university. And I remember having a conversation with another male promoter, and they were talking about, like, they were comparing our sales, and it was kind of frustrating that they were like, oh, it's likely that you'll get more sales because you're a girl and because guys are attracted, you know, are drawn to you and stuff like that. And I just felt like that it was so frustrating, because I was like, why is it that you guys are referring to, you know, the amount of sales that I'm getting because of my appeal, rather than maybe because, you know, of my hard work to network with people, to talk to people and stuff like that. Like, not because people just saw me as a girl and was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and get tickets from this particular girl. Because yes, like, I did sell a lot of tickets, but I really don't think that was entirely from the fact that, you know, of the way I looked. And it even came to show, because, like, you know, when I went to meet up with people to give tickets, like, I can tell you now, I literally dressed like you know, trackies, hoodies. I was no makeup. Like, I was not there for any physical appeal, you know. I'm gonna tell you now, because when I dress up and stuff, I'm doing it for myself, not to like impress some guy.
Yes.
Right?
As you should. Yeah.
Right? And I think that's another thing about, you know, being a woman. Like, everyone's like, oh, you know, the whole dress sense and stuff like that, and being undermined because of the way that you dress. Like, we're not doing it to impress you. We're doing it because, you know, we want to look good for ourselves.
It feels
right?
good for us. Yeah.
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 sure.
Yeah.
So that's something that definitely occurred to me in terms of overcoming that. But, you know, it's still really hard, like, you know,
Yeah.
having to deal with that kind of thing. But I really want to show that there's more to us than, you know, what we look like.
Yeah. I think that's the thing often that like I feel like we can't win as women because either it's like you're too sexual or you're not using your sexuality enough. It's like this we're placed in a specific spot where you have to hit the exact spot or you're too much or you're too little, and it angers me because that expectation is not placed on men. So it's not fair. It's just not fair, and I just can't deal with that shit. I'm just like, oh, fuck that. But yeah, well, I guess still worked off over these kind of issues. Sunny, what's your challenge?
That's an interesting question. I honestly, first of all, like, I'm really sorry that you guys had to like go through that. I can't really think of any because like
I think that's a good thing if you can't think of
no, I
anything.
couldn't really think of any. Like, I'd
Yeah.
say that um now, because I'm a film student, for some of you guys who don't know, there's like more like women now who are studying film, who are wanting to be like filmmakers, or just getting into like the creative industry that's typically, especially like with entertainment, um male dominated. That's what I was gonna say. Male dominated. So walking into my first day and seeing more girls, I was like, yes, yes. Um, so yeah, so far, luckily, like, I haven't really like faced those kind of challenges, like having to deal with like sexism and all that sort of thing in the environment that I'm in or have been in, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
I think I think it's reflective of the fact that things are changing, thankfully. Because I mean, Sunny, you're 18 and you're at university, and I love you so much, and
I
I'm
love
so
you
glad
too.
to
Don't make
hear
me
that you
cry.
don't. I'm so glad to hear that you're not facing any of these because I would hate for that to happen to you. And like I think our because our generation is more willing to stand up and speak out about injustices and biases. Change is happening. It's a slow progress, but it's definitely happening. And you mentioned that uh, you're in film and you see more women in that. And I was actually speaking to a colleague of mine about like the film industry. So I also work in film, and telling him that I want to become like a shooting director. And he was saying like that is brilliant to hear because you don't hear very many women working in film who know how to use cameras or carry cameras themselves, because in the past it was hugely male dominated because the size of the equipment meant that like men would think women can't do that job, like we have to be the one to hold the cameras and do the filming. But it's nice to see that now like women are feeling like, no, I'm not going to take that and I'm going to still pursue my goals. So on that, to like smoothly transition to the next point is who are your female role models?
Should
It
I
can
start?
be famous, not famous, anyone. Go ahead.
Oh, it's really hard because like if I want to think about it in like a sort of big perspective, then oh my god, we've talked about her, so I feel like you guys gonna know exactly who I'm gonna say.
Go
But
say it.
Gemma Chan, like just because like I love her as a person, but I also just feel like she's done so much in terms of like, you know, representation in the community. Like it's something that I also want to do for myself, like being able to be Asian and an Asian woman and representing ourselves in the media in like, you know, in a good light, right? Because like obviously, you know, at the moment there's been a lot of things in relation to Asians, like hate crimes, whatnot and stuff, but that's a whole another story we're going to talk about another time. But just because of like, you know, this sort of like a bunch of like misinformation, and it's kind of creating this sort of perspective of Asians and Asian women as well. It's kind of making me think, oh, I want to be someone like her who has like, you know, a platform and is able to talk about those things. And you've seen on her Instagram that she's been talking about these things as well. And I think that's what's the great thing about having a platform. And as being an Asian woman, we also deal with all sorts of things, and that's also another reason why we started the In Your Bag podcast, right, guys? Like how it feels to be an Asian woman, and how, you know, we're not, you know, restricted to these stereotypes that people see of us, and we're much more than that. We're much more than what people perceive us. So that's something that is really important for the community. But in terms of, I guess, closely, I would probably say that like my mom is like a really big role model for me. Like she's someone that like, I guess like everyone's relationships with their family can be very on and off, but I'm sure you guys know how much I always talk about how much I love my mom and my parents in general, because like I guess I was really fortunate growing up that like my parents were really supportive of me in terms of my career path and stuff like that. And in terms of mental health, we all know how difficult it can be, you know, with Asians trying to Asian parents trying to understand what mental health is. But, you know, throughout university and stuff like that, my mom has always been there to listen to me. And she's always been there, like, you know, in the end, like, you do what you can and do the most. And if you feel it's too hard, then come and rely on us. Or if you want to take a weekend off, just come home. Like, we'll be there to support you and stuff like that. I'm gonna cry just talking about this, but like,
hearing that,
I'm gonna start crying. We're all gonna start crying.
But because I guess mental health is a really like touchy subject in ways. Like it's very sensitive, but it's also really important to talk about. And when I think about those really hard times that I had to deal with, you know, at university and whatnot, having people that I can rely on, especially my family, it's something that I'm really grateful for, and especially my mom. And she's obviously, mental health isn't something that we talk about. So the fact that she can talk about it and, you know, try her best to understand what's happening is, I think, something that I really value about her as a person. But yeah, anyways, guys, over to you.
That's so lovely to hear, Sophia. I would say I'm in a similar position in that I love my mom and the relationship that I have with her now and the way it's grown. So when I was thinking about like, okay, who's my female role model or role models? I thought like, does it have to be like a famous person, like a celebrity or a politician? And then when I really thought about it, I was like, the first person I could come up with was my mom. She's, to me, she's like, she is a very strong, independent woman that's really built her career, like the vibes of like started from the bottom, now we're here kind of thing, and raising 3 children, majorly on her own because of the way her work brought her to like Hong Kong and the UK, and my dad would commute from Malaysia every few months. So my mom is still a prominent figure in my life. And I also draw inspiration from like my girlfriends, because they inspire me to be confident and outspoken, you know, talking about things that matter to them, and just standing up for what they believe. And it's like, yo, like if they can do it, like I can try to do it too, you know, like to because I'm quite a shy person, but my coping mechanism with for social anxiety is to be the opposite, which is like to talk a lot. So yeah, I've come across like a bunch of wonderful girls that have, you know, inspired me with their confidence to work on my own self-confidence. And yeah, what about you, Sunny?
Well, pretty much like similar to you and Sophia. So firstly, my female role models are my mom and my grandmother, both very strong women. I feel like that has really influenced like me, like who I am today. My grandmother was the one who took care of me and my brother when we were back in the Philippines, whilst my mom and dad were here in the UK working. Um, and yeah, like I guess being like very disciplined, all that fun stuff, like her, like just superwoman. Like that's just how I can describe my grandmother and my mom, like superwoman. Like my mom would come home, say hi to us, and then she would sometimes she'd like cook or like, you know, do the preparing for like the food and stuff for my dad to like cook when he gets home, and then she irons the clothes. Like just wow. After like a long day of work, she's still like doing work here, and I'm like, Superwoman. That's like how I can describe both of them, Superwoman.
Yeah.
And just like you, Sorfina, my girlfriends too, like the girls in BAM, they're literally like my biggest inspiration. And it's so nice to be surrounded by females who empower you, who support you. And I went to an all girls school and I didn't really have that. So having that now, it's just, it's amazing. And
Mhm.
oh my God, I'm going to start crying. But yeah, I just love like the women in my life, the girls from BAM, my mom, my grandmother. They're
Mhm.
super women, all of them, super women. Honestly,
Yeah.
what about you, Jeff?
I think the same. I think most of my role models are people who I know personally. Again, it roots down to my mom being like my mom is the kindest, most gentle soul. I'm a hugely emotional person, as the girls know, and I get that from my mom. But she has always taught me that there is such strength in gentleness and emotion. And I'm really grateful because I think the reason why I am pretty in touch with my emotions, and I feel I like to think that I'm like very emotionally mature, is because of my mom. So and like I know like what you guys said that your moms are so supportive. Like my mom has always had my back. Like even when I fuck up, my mom is there. I remember there was one time when I think my mom had like seen a notification. Is when I was at uni and I got into like questionable things at uni. She saw a message come up on my phone of a questionable act, and she was like, I was about to go back to uni and she was like brushing my hair. And then I can like sense that she's working up to say something. And then she just like stops brushing and just like she's behind me. She just hugs me and she kisses my head and she starts crying a little bit and she's like ate, which means big sister, but in my house because I'm the oldest, they call me ate. Like ate, you know that I love you, okay? I will love you no matter what happens, but please make right decisions and be smart. We love you. We're here to support you. Just remember that. And it was nice because I felt like she trusted me enough not to get into it, and told me she is here to pick up the pieces but like be smart. And not gonna lie, when she said that like completely switched things around for me, and I was like, okay, I do need to be smart. I need to stop being like a bit of a fool. But like it's like that. Me and mum have very many and very often emotional talks about life, and I tell her pretty much everything in my life. So we have a great relationship. And then the next would also be my girlfriends, like the girls that I grew up with, who I've known since I moved to the UK, who are like my sisters now, and my own sister, the girls of BAM. And I want to give a shout out to a specific person who actually introduced me to feminism at university. I had like no idea about it before. I was always kind of like I never was aware that it was a thing to be like be empowered and be strong and be independent. And my friend Hel from uni, she was my housemate in my accommodation my first year, and we lived with each other throughout the whole of university. She was the first woman that I came across that was really like shouted it from the rooftops, like no, like feminism is a thing, read into it, like be empowered, you don't need a man. I've always been the kind of girl who's like very like I romanticize life, I love, and I was always like boys. She's like, no Jen, you do not need a man, like you can stand on your own 2 feet without a man. And like I genuinely think that if I hadn't met her in my first year, I wouldn't be as empowered as a woman. And we did a lot of that for one another at uni. She got me through some really really rough times. So hi Hal, if you're listening. But yeah, I owe a lot of like my belief system in feminism to her. So yeah, she hugely inspires me.
Yeah, honestly, this whole talk about role models just made me think of how many more people like I admire in life
Yeah.
as well. Because I feel like the more we've all talked about all these people, I'm like, oh, there's so many more people, and like you know, you said you wanted to shout out a particular person. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's one person that after having this conversation, I was like, I can't believe I forgot to mention her. So I'm gonna mention her now because she honestly deserves it. I think one of the biggest role models also in my life is my cousin. Her name's Tracy. Shout out to Tracy.
Oh,
But
Tracy.
Tracy?
The one that I did the illustration for?
Yeah.
Tracy, hi Tracy.
Yeah, so basically when we were growing up, so she's always been by my side. Like, she's kind of like my older sister, but it's really complicated because like she doesn't feel like family. She feels like a friend in ways because of like how comfortable we are with each other. And like, she's always been probably the most supportive person in my life. Like, even when I've had troubles like with my parents and stuff like that, she's always been there to support me, to make sure that. And like, in terms of my career as well, like, I honestly, I wouldn't have had half of the opportunities if she hadn't like pushed me to do it. Because I think for me, like, I always tell you guys that like, if there's an opportunity, you should grab it and take it as you go. But I would never have had that mindset if it wasn't for her. Like, I remember I got an internship all because, you know, she was at university and she saw an opportunity on like her careers page, and she was like, Sophia, apply for this. And I was like, I'm not at uni, like, can I apply? And she was like, no, just apply. And you know what, I got that job. So like, that's why like I'm really thankful for everything that she's done for me. And like, I feel like I can't thank her enough for everything, because like, she's, even if we don't talk as often as we used to as we're growing up, like, she's still there for me. And you know, sometimes like she'll surprise me with little things and whatnot and stuff like that. So I'm just really thankful to kind of have her in my life. You know, as we were saying, like, the whole idea of this is so we can focus on Women's Day and, you know, talking about what it really means to us. So what does Women's Day mean to you guys?
Celebration. To me, it means as a day of celebration, in that, and a reminder to empower and lift each other up. But it's also a reminder of the fact that there was a point in history that this day had to be kind of, created. Because, like, let's not lie, it's a man's world, right? Like, it's a lot of the things are just designed for a man. And so as women, like, we just naturally have to work harder to be at the same level. So it's also a reminder to kind of like, you know, like, aim higher, work harder, and make way for like the younger generation, for them to not have to go through the same struggles as we're going through, which is similar to how, like, Sunny, you know, how you said you haven't really experienced it and you're already at uni, and that's great, because how Jem said, it's a sign of change, you know. So it's a day of celebration, and it's just a reminder to keep on working harder to fight for equality in that sense.
Yeah, complete. I think you put that down perfectly. I would not have been able to explain it in any better way. It is a day of celebration. It's a day of empowerment, and it's I always love these kind of like female chats where we get to empower each other and have a day where we get to just shout it and be like, you know what, women are great, and like, we are here for one another, we're building each other up, and like, we are going to get to a place when equality will be seen. And maybe it's not like we didn't experience it from when we were children, but maybe we'll experience it in a few years, and our children won't have to have the same difficulties. And it feels like a sign of hope and movement. So I love it. I get so excited every year. I'm like, yeah, International Women's Day. And I love social media on International Women's Day, because you just see so many posts about like inspiring women that like I would never have learned about before had it not been like shouted out by another person. So it's always very exciting.
Yeah, I agree. Like, also because like, I work in a marketing company, and at the moment, literally all of our campaigns are focused on like Women's Day, or in China, I believe it's called Queen's Day. But yeah, and apparently they even get a half day off if you're for Women's Day in China. So which is great. And we were making a joke about it in one of our last meeting on Friday yesterday, and we were talking about how like they were like, so our director was proposing to like our managing director who's male, and she was like, so you know in China, right, you get a half day off, so what are you doing for us women on Monday? And I was just like, I loved it. I love this so much. But like, yeah, but then like we were just, but in the end, like feminism, as we talked about, is not just about, you know, women, it's about equality for both sexes. Like that's another thing that people, you know, mistake. Like feminism isn't about, you know, we're trying to, yes, we're empowering women, but it's not just about us. It's so we can be on like an equal like platform as, you know, males as well. And like you were saying about how like it's quite a male dominated world, and I was thinking about like, why is mankind called mankind? Like and it was just random things like that. So that's why I'm just like, honestly, having a day where we can empower each other and you know, just think about how important women are in our lives. Like, I don't think people realize that without women, there a lot of things wouldn't happen. I'm just gonna say, like, so that's why, like, it's really important. And you know, when I was at school as well, like, we learned about the suffragettes movement and like, you know, talking about what like women's right to vote and everything and stuff like that. And then when we talk about changes and stuff like that, it's really great to see like how far we've come since that has all like that since the suffragettes movement started, and how far we've come in terms of feminism and everything and sorts of that. So that's why I'm just like, yes, we're making changes, and I can't wait to see what more we can do in the future as well.
I feel like you girls have just like put it like nicely. I don't even know like what else can I say. Like, yes, go sis, go women.
Okay, so one last question to kind of like round this episode up. What does female empowerment mean to you guys? Like, why is it important to empower one another?
I have a one line that's quite cheesy.
Oh, do it. I love cheesy lines.
We love cheese.
Yeah, so alone we can be strong, but united we are stronger.
Yeah.
My stomach is twisting right now.
The clicks are for like poetry readings.
Yeah, poetry.
Where you have to like
snap,
click.
snaps.
Yeah.
I learned something new today. I'm just here like or like on Clubhouse. I'll be honest.
Oh yeah.
I just feel like it's really important to uplift one another because, you know, we live in a society where people are incredibly critical, and I think that, and constantly judgmental as well. And I think if it wasn't for the people who can empower and uplift one another in this society, like we wouldn't be the people that we are today. So go female empowerment.
Yeah.
Yes. I had like a thought, and then my thought just like left the chat.
Reconnecting.
Like reconnecting. Like, wait, I had like something, and now I just
just have this animation of a train going like, and then it leaving.
I did like a train, like choo choo. Oh my gosh, this is so
or
so
the Google dinosaur. You know when Google is like reconnecting,
when you
there's
can
like
play
a
the
little
game.
dinosaur. Yeah.
That's just like me right now. It literally went out of my head.
I've got one. Whilst you're thinking, I'll say my one. I think it's important because it, like similar kind of to what Sophia said, I think it's easier to see things you dislike about yourself and things you're not good at. We also have things like imposter syndrome and just thinking you're not enough and you'll never be enough. And there's so many negative thoughts that I think we can get really overcome with, and to have people to empower you, people who are similar to you, like other women, it just really helps to snap yourself out of it. I'm very much like, I'm very self-critical, so to have my friends come around me and be like, bitch, no, you're great, you're a boss ass bitch, it's nice. It's a nice feeling to be empowered by friends, and I love to empower my friends because I can see things that they don't see, and it's I think it's so important that we do that for the people that we love and care about, and also other people that we don't know, because it's also nice to just bring a smile to people's faces. Mhm. Mhm. Yay! Yay,
It's
International
just-
Women's Day.
Yeah.
Woo!
I just wanted to add on the point of like being self-critical and like it's so easy to just get bogged down by your own thoughts and feelings. So it's nice to have that support system, especially a female support system that can turn around and be like, no, there's nothing wrong with this. Just go ahead and continue being yourself. And then also I feel like so I also went to a girls' school. So I don't know, like it was easier to spot like sometimes like girl on girl shaming, which breaks my heart to still think about and to hear nowadays. And it's just like, who does it benefit?
Yeah.
So, and I feel like there is no harm in making someone's day by dropping those fire emojis on their Instagram post. Like it's just what are you losing out on? So it's just be kind, y'all. This is the life thing.
Yeah. It's easier to be kind.
I think actually all of us went to girls' schools right now.
Yeah.
That's confirmed. But yeah, so I think actually that says a lot, the fact that actually we always actually have to deal with criticism. And I think actually criticism between females is actually such a prominent thing that we've all probably dealt with. And it's actually quite scary that, we demean each other in such ways when we're both we're both females. We both probably have our own, things that we're struggling with, and it doesn't help to add to that. And like you said, it's not bad to be kind. Sometimes kindness really gets you a long way. And I think that's something that we need to be really appreciative of. But I guess go.
Sorry, I was just gonna add one last thing. I've just always had this thought that society has put us women up against each other a lot, especially say for example like the beauty industry, and then we're just constantly taught to compare and think like who is better than the other. And I genuinely think it's because society, like because it's for men, like everything is built for men, that it must have been like years and years back, whatever, they were just terrified knowing that if women actually came together and like loved one another instead of like hated and compared and competed against one another, we'd be a stronger force. So they started creating things that would make us feel like every woman is a competition, which they're not. Like I know I got to a point in school when I was comparing myself to other women, and once I stopped that, I've lived a much happier life, and I've built better friendships, stronger friendships, and I felt more empowered as a woman, and I know my friends are empowered as women. So if we did more of that, we will become such a stronger force and defeat inequality. Woo, Wonder Woman.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, I think that definitely goes for anything. And, with how prominent social media is, it really doesn't help when we constantly end up comparing ourselves, even if we don't want to. But, I guess that's for us to think about for ourselves. Like, how are we viewing the world and how are we viewing people? Like, in the end, we're all human beings, right? And we shouldn't have to compare ourselves because we are ourselves, like we are our own person. So hopefully that from this we can all sort of reflect on that and think about how we don't need to bog ourselves down, compare ourselves to other people, because we should all be appreciative that we exist in this life. We're doing well for ourselves, I would presume. Thank you again, Sophina, for joining us today for the podcast. We're really grateful to have you on here, and you've said some amazing things, and I really hope that everyone enjoys listening to it. So thank you, Sophina.
Thank you so much. You did so good. It was your first podcast, and I'm like, come again, please. Join again.
Can breathe. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that I would like my first podcast is with you guys. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
But yeah, anyways, I hope that we can have you again, honestly. Like, it's been really lovely talking to you. But guys, if you guys want to listen to this podcast, don't forget to check us out at BAM Beyond. So that's BAMNBEYOND. I've gotten so used to saying this at this point. But we're available on Apple, Spotify, but you guys will probably be listening to us on these anyways when you check this out. But we also have the video version, which will be released on our YouTube, so don't forget to check us out. We also have highlights going on that you guys will probably see of our podcast, which are available on our social media at the same social handle. What else do I have to promote, guys?
Merch.
We don't actually, none of us are actually wearing merch today. That's new.
I had to find the laundry basket today because I was cutting my brother's hair, and then the hair, like, I forgot to like change to like a shirt so it wouldn't like stick on. Yeah, basically it's now full of his hair, so I had to.
Okay, anyways, going back to the point, guys, we also have merchandise that you guys can check out. We have mugs, we have tote bags, we have sweatshirts, you know, whatever. We have all sorts.
The whole thing.
Yeah, so don't forget to check that out. We also have, you can also support us on various ways, whether that's via Twitch, by subscribing to us. If you have Amazon Prime, you can do it for free. Otherwise, you can check us out on Twitch, or coffee, buying us a bubble tea to support us, because you know a bubble tea goes a long way. But yeah,
one last thing to plug is Sorfina's in this this web series that you should watch called Hugs and Kisses by You Had Me At. So also go check that out because she's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, guys, we usually do our watch party of the Hugs and Kisses on our Discord. So if you want to join us in the community and fangirl over Sophina or fanboy, when we're gonna it's an inclusive environment, guys, then do check us our Discord, because you know we're here to support the community and interact with you guys as well. And on that note, did I miss anything, guys?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
That covers it all.
Anyways, guys, thank you for listening or watching, depending how you're seeing this today. But yeah,
thank you.
And that's it for today. Happy International
Women's Day.